We're recording. People are here. Are we live on the Facebooks too, Alice? Hi, everybody. Woohoo!
Yes.
It's happening. Hello. I am grateful technology worked and for our quickness. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's the last day of November, and we are wrapping up our month of the theme of gratitude with this appreciation at work, Prasada Talks. Thank you for being here. Whether you're with us in the Zoom room, we see you. Whether you're watching us live on Facebook or watching this after the fact, thanks for your attention. In case we haven't met, I'm Meg Townsend. I'm a whole being guide with Prasada, and I'm joined today by Alice and Sarah. Alice and Sarah, tell us just a little bit about you, and then we'll jump right into this topic of appreciation at work.
Hi, I'm Sarah Murray. I'm the Director of Communications and Client Services with Prasada. So I'm always dealing directly with our clients and bringing all that information back to our team to work together to see how we can best support them with our services. And we are led by dun dun dun.
Hi. I'm not sure that the Facebook is working.
It is.
So it is okay
It
because
is.
it's coming. And you're seeing us on it there because I'm just seeing like a black screen.
I don't know. Let's keep talking though, and I'll take a
Okay, so I'm Alice Dommert. I'm the CEO and founder of Prasada. And yeah, I'm excited. I actually did a program yesterday with one of our clients called Being Together. And it was about emotional intelligence, it was about negativity, and it was about nonviolent communications. And all of those actually touch on this topic of appreciation. So love this topic.
Me too. And yeah, Jack and I were on site earlier this week talking about actually an attitude of gratitude and appreciation at work. And it was really beautiful. I'll talk a little bit about something that we did with them at work, just to give you some ideas of how to grow a culture of appreciation. But that was a really just beautiful experience to see them. So as we dive into this talk of appreciation at work, I want to start off with first just a fact that Jack Curley found when we were developing some of our appreciation programs, our gratitude programs. Did you know that people are less likely to express gratitude at work than any other place? Anybody know that? Is that a shocking fact? Or maybe it's
I
slow,
didn't know that it was a fact, but I don't know I'm that surprised by it.
right? So there was a John Templeton Foundation study, and almost all respondents reported that saying thank you to colleagues made them feel happier, made them feel more fulfilled throughout their day. But on any given day, only 10% actually acted on the impulse to. And 60% said they either never express gratitude or do so maybe just like once this time of year, right? When we're actually thinking about thankfulness and appreciation. And so I wanted to just ask you, Alice, what are we potentially losing out on when we're not in a culture of appreciation in the workplace?
Yeah, it makes me think about when I was serving. I was actually a vestry member at Christ Church many years ago. And I remember that there was another gentleman who I really admired. And after every time we had a vestry meeting, he would come up and say, "Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your contributions." And at first I was a little surprised, like, well, I was signed up to do that. That's my job. And so
Mhm.
I think what happens a lot of times is that we're not saying thank you to people because we kind of all have this mindset. I was writing about this morning. We kind of have this, everybody's doing their own tasks and everybody knows what their work is and everybody's staying super duper focused. And so we're not saying thank you to each other because a lot of times we're just focused on getting our own goals done. And we're not necessarily realizing that we are, as I like to say, life is a group project. And so we're losing this opportunity for those positive, what they call positive emotions, and building that trust by actually appreciating each other. It was interesting because at this organization yesterday, they said that they usually have yearly evaluations and employees set yearly personal goals. But what had come to light this year was the fact that an employee could be making their personal goals that actually leave a wake of destruction. Those are my words. This is not what they said, but it's my elaboration. They could leave a wake of destruction for the team. And so they were actually starting to reevaluate to where they would actually have more team and what is the team's impact. And so when we are appreciating each other, when we are recognizing, and this comes up in our character strengths programs, when we're recognizing not just the task that got done, like it's great to say like, oh, thanks Meg for getting that form done, and Sarah, thanks for like making sure that contract went through. But when we're actually appreciating like, wow, Meg, your perseverance, like it took us a lot to really, get all these folks to Portugal for this amazing retreat without any hitches. And your perseverance and commitment and kindness whenever things happened and people were really struggling, that is creating a whole different relationship between us that makes a difference.
Sarah, do you have any thoughts to weigh
Yeah.
out of?
So what was the original question you asked is like what we're missing out on?
Yeah, like what are we losing out on when we're not? Because it really is a conscious act and habit to start to, build in your life to have this attitude of gratitude, as you will. So when it's not there,
I could think of definitely two things off the top of my head right away. One, actually, I know we're talking about Jack a lot, but I just talked to Jack about this a couple weeks ago when we were at a client event together. And I think the one thing that people may not know and that they are missing out on when not practicing gratitude in their life, regardless of whether it's at the workplace or at home or wherever, is that it is a scientific fact that gratitude and anxiety cannot coexist in the same moment. And I find that to be very interesting if people are to take that to the workplace and apply it to perhaps a very stressful situation that they are having throughout the week. Work is stressful. I don't know anybody who has ever said they've never had a stressful day at work, ever. So if we take that fact about the gratitude and anxiety and stress not being able to coexist at the same time in the brain, we need to fall upon gratitude as the practice to combat those situations first and foremost. And that's one of the easiest things I think people can do in the moment. So, and Jack and I were talking about that, and we were just really kind of fascinated by the science behind it. But then the other piece that I think people are missing out on is the fact that appreciation at work is directly related to employee engagement. So, from the management perspective, I mean, we just talked about the personal perspective of gratitude and how it can help you. But as in an organization and a manager, it can help you have a better team by practicing appreciation for them because it is going to directly create their engagement around the work that they're doing. And all of that I learned in this little bad boy right here. Thank you, Alice, for sharing this with us. But this book is called, it's super quick read. It's really skinny. You could knock it out in a couple days. The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. It's empowering organizations by encouraging people. And this is a really simple book that discusses a lot about that particular fact about engagement. It starts off in that and gives you really great tips as not only as an employee, but also as a manager to help that situation. So I love that book. I have it, kind of marked up a little bit, but really good stuff in there, Alice. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think what one of the statistics I found most interesting. So that book is based on the, if you're familiar with the 5 languages of love
Mhm.
languages, but it applies it into the workplace. And the article that I actually saw that where I discovered that book was about I think it was a steel manufacturing company, and they basically realized that people have different ways they want to be appreciated. Only 40, I think it's 48 or 49% of people actually like words of appreciation. So if you think about it, in some cases, people like to be called out in a meeting and said, thank you, a big shout out to Sarah for whatever work she did. Other people are just mortified by that. And they might actually like some sort of act of service. They might actually appreciate their manager saying like, hey, if you've got to stay late today, is there anything I could help you do? I have an extra hour today. Could I help you? And what they did at this steel manufacturing plant was they decided what were their ways, and they had little circles, little stickers. And so the stickers were on their hard hats so that people could recognize what way that they like to be appreciated, because 48% or 49% of people who like words means there's a whole bunch of people who don't like words of affirmation as their, appreciation language. So that was
Mhm.
one of the things that I found kind of the most interesting in that book. And really, I would say 98% of our appreciation typically is just words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
We can make sure we link this book somewhere so people can find it. But
Yeah, I
yes.
do send a follow-up for everyone who
Oh,
registers
perfect.
with the book link in the follow-up as well as the recording. So, okay, we've kind of painted a picture of what we're missing out on, right?
Mhm.
Engagement, team interdependency, more flourishing in work. So knowing that, what's keeping us from actually doing it, right? Expressing appreciation in all these forms at work.
That's an interesting conversation because I think initially my first thought on that when we were discussing these questions was I think a lot of people, it might come from the way that they are brought up and what is expected in communication, because that's where we learn all of this as little humans from our family and people around us. But also, in that, I think in the workplace, sometimes it can tend to be um, people just think, oh, well, I'm getting paid, so that's my appreciation. So there shouldn't ever be anything else attached to it from there. So I think putting a lot of weight on it from the beginning with letting people know what you want their behavior to be, like with children, with parenting, for example. Um, it sounds like your generation, Camille. Yes, definitely. I'm actually about to go off on a tangent, so I don't want to do that. But Alice, I want to let you answer that question before I go down the next path I was just going to go.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times it's about vulnerability. There's something about when we say thank you to someone that our mindset says that somehow we're being, in a way, submissive. Also, sometimes if we have had a bad experience where we showed appreciation for something, thank you, and somebody was like, okay, well, now you've recognized that I've done something for you, or you've done something for me, and it's more we have a mindset of transaction. It's transactional. And so if I say thank you for something that you did, I'm naming you did something for me, or I'm recognizing it for you, and maybe there's kind of a tit for tat kind of relationship. So it's just that um, not feeling safe, not feeling like that expressing gratitude is something that you're comfortable with, especially if it ends up being you're expressing gratitude. I mean, do you need to express gratitude to your boss, or are you just expressing gratitude sort of down the ladder, like thank you for doing this or thank you for showing up? And does it feel a little obnoxious to be like, hey, thanks for showing up today, Sarah, when the expectation is that you will show up and do your job. But we all know that, even just the regular things, saying at home, thank you for emptying the dishwasher, even if your partner has emptied the dishwasher 8 million times, it goes a long way to still say, wow, I really appreciate that you emptied the dishwasher.
That's why, Alice, I like how you brought this piece of like infusing the character strengths into the gratitude, because it's more than just like something. I mean, that's all important and that's like a good starting point. But I think when we infuse the character strengths, it's like, thank you for who you are, the gifts that you bring. It's more than just like, thank you for typing up that form or whatever, which again is great to say thank you for. But Stacy and I are back and forth. I love Stacy on our team, because she's always like, everything that I do, she's like, thank you. And I'm like, I love this just kind of like back and forth. Thanks for creating that. Thanks for doing this. Like, that's important. And then, occasionally throughout the year, I'm like, Stacy, thank you for being you. Like, you're just so on it and organized and like keeping it all together. So it's kind of like both and all our levels that we can bring that really just, again, like connect us as a team. And yeah.
I also think that, thank you is one of those things that, like, we can say it, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that people can say it. And also, we know when people are being genuine about gratitude. And so, cultivating this practice of gratitude is not just that we start saying thank you a lot more often. It's actually that we have, it's sort of like that you embody, like, wow, I know I could not do my work. Like, we could not do this work. The team could not do this work. We cannot serve our clients unless we have every single person on the team doing every single task that has to get done. And I think, again, that's another thing that happens in the workplace is that if there's this sort of um, mental hierarchy system that people do about whose jobs are more important because of what their titles are or the tasks that they do. And yet, most organizations, if they didn't have any level of people, things basically the wheels fall off. You don't think that, as my son once said, we always in our culture we talk about the innovators, but he's in a welding program. He says, "What about the maintainers?" So it's great to build a beautiful big bridge, but if you can't keep maintaining the bridge, and so this form of appreciation is just about maintaining our connection to each other, our trust with each other, and that's what keeps our organizations. It's almost like the thread that keeps all the important pieces together.
Or the glue. I feel like you were about to say glue because it really
Yeah,
is considered, gratitude is considered a social glue.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's one of the gratitude is one of the things that they call an other emotion, meaning like you can say yes, okay, I'm grateful that it's sunny outside, or you can say I'm grateful that uh, you know for the team that we have. Both of those are recognizing that there is something outside of you and outside of your control that happened to coincide with the way that you were hoping it would go. Um, so this emotion is very different from like when we feel a variety of other emotions, and so that's one of the interesting things when they really get into the research about it.
So knowing all this and just looking at the time, because I want to make sure we give people some like thoughts and action steps. So we know like what we're missing out when we don't have it, why we might feel uncomfortable practicing gratitude, why it might not happen. So where do we start? Like what can, some people I know who are here might already be in a culture of gratitude in their workplace. And so that's a different starting point than like the workplace that never says thank you or appreciate. So Alice, say I'm in that type of workplace, which I'm not, thank goodness, but say that I'm the one person that feels like, oh, I want to start building this, but it doesn't exist right now. Where would I start? Where would you start? And what are some things that feel kind of comfortable, safe stepping stones? Obviously, you might not get in front of everybody at the Christmas party and be like, thank you so much, boss and president and coworkers. That might be a little too big when it doesn't exist. So what's a good stepping stone?
Yeah, I mean, since we do know that 48% of the people or 49% do like words of appreciation, I think that is definitely a place to start. If you go into the Via Character Strengths website, you can actually very quickly see the all of the character strengths. And so when you look at those 20 some odd character strengths, I think that starts to give a good vocabulary because, again, we can say, like, okay, appreciation means just saying thank you. But if you look at those character strengths, um, perseverance, hope, love, um, gratitude is one of them. Zest is one of them. But when you start to get familiar with the whole array of what makes life really worth living, that's kind of how the character strengths are defined. That can give you a starting point to start looking like, oh yeah, I'm seeing perseverance. Oh, I'm seeing judgment. And in that case, judgment actually is a quality that we want to have when we're discerning and trying to make particular decisions. So I think that's a great place to just print out that list of character strengths and start to say where am I noticing these things, and then where can I actually name and vocalize when I'm seeing people. We call it strength spotting. So I think that's a great place to start and an easy little kind of cheat sheet.
Sarah, do you have any ideas of maybe step through if that's starting to happen? What other ways or what ways have you seen that we've
I
started?
I think starting with gratitude for yourself, if that's not something you're comfortable doing for other people, starting with gratitude for things in your own life is the best way I can. It's how I'm teaching my kids about gratitude. It's a concept that I'm trying to get them to understand. So having them think about things that they are grateful for every single day, small, big, whatever the case may be, is going to help them to start to notice it in other people. So I think if someone says, well, that's just not something I'm used to doing, well, just start looking into your own life first before you can be expected to notice it in other people. Um, and then the other um, piece about that is, and when I say doing it for yourself, that could be keeping a journal. One thing you can write down every single day. My husband and I used to keep, we should start this back up actually. I don't know why we stopped, but we used to keep a gratitude journal for each other. That was something that it was a book that lived in our bathroom between our sinks, and we would write one thing about the day to the other person that we were thankful and appreciated about them that day. And sometimes it was something like emptying the dishwasher or whatever. And other days it was something that was like super deep that I was really appreciative for, and him as well. And it was just one thing. And we did that for a while. And I can't begin to tell you how that reframed my entire marriage and relationship with him. It was awesome. So something like that, keeping it, you could keep it for yourself. You don't have to share it with your spouse or with your kids. But I always just found that that was a nice way to get started. Write something down and share it with the other person. And then I guess just in the workplace, and I'll keep this short, seeing things that, it's funny, again, this is going to go back to parenting, but they always tell you to focus on the things that your kids are doing good and call it out in that moment if you want that behavior to continue. I swear they said the same exact thing in this book about employees. I was like, oh my God, it's just clearly human nature then, because they are saying if you're noticing something about your team members or employees that you want them to continue doing, call it out in that moment and be appreciative for it at that time. And that will resonate deeper with them. So I thought that was kind of cool too, because I was like, that's something you're supposed to do with kids. So, those are just, I guess, my initial tips.
I love that. And as you were speaking, I remembered there was a point. So we have weekly check-ins, the four of us, our kind of core team. And there was one point, maybe it was a whole year, maybe it was a couple months, but there was one point when our opening check-in was name something that you're grateful for.
Yes.
Right. And it was just that. So that could be something at work when you're all gathered as a meeting, is just name something you're grateful for in this moment today, this week, if it's a hard day.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of get people percolating on that. And then another idea that we've had that Jack and I actually did in person this week, which was really cool and they loved it, was, and this would be a great activity to do, or, culture to start, say that people are still a little uncomfortable and would be more want to be anonymous in expressing their gratitude. And this is a gratitude jar. So we actually took in and pieces of paper, and in that program had them write down someone at work and a couple bullet points or a sentence of why they were grateful for them, throw it in the jar, and then they get to decide how they sort of reveal those. Maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's a meeting where they just every meeting pull out one piece of paper and read it and say, this is the appreciation for the day, or I'm going to follow up with them too and see how they utilize it. But that could be a way to express gratitude, maybe in a little more comfortable, anonymous way. Nobody signed it, right? It was just like, I'm writing down Alice Dommert and I am grateful for this, this, and this. And then at some point, Alice gets to hear that. So she gets to see it and I can do it in maybe a little more comfortable way. That's a baby step.
I love it. I was also thinking, Sarah, you took that you took a course on appreciative inquiry.
Mm.
I was just doing a little research on that, and it was really fascinating to me. And I'd love to hear you talk about that for a minute. Is that appreciative inquiry is not when we're focused on problems within a workplace. It's when we're focused on sort of building up what people are already doing. And so to me, it's almost like the organization is oriented, like the strategy of how we work together in teams. Can you talk just a little bit about that appreciative inquiry? Because it is sort of taking it to the biggest level, but I find it really fascinating.
It is, yeah. It's it's a very large subject, but in a nutshell, and with the time we have left, it is basically the mindset of an organization to not be focusing on, if you're looking at losses, profit and losses, instead of focusing on the things that happened last year that you potentially lost a lot of money as a business. It's literally not about focusing on those things, but focusing on the things that were working in the moment, regardless of what had happened at the end of that year. And again, I'm not going to do this justice in the next 90 seconds, but there's so much science behind this entire, what would I call it, Alice? It's a model of, organizational
Mindset.
psychology. I don't really know how to describe it. But I did only just take a few days course on it. There are college courses created around this entire subject, so please don't come for me. But it is something that, again, is talking about how the behavior that you want to continue and the things that you want to continue, there is actual real science behind when we put our laser focus on that it will continue to grow. So we will also link information about an appreciative inquiry if you guys want to dive deeper into it. But there's a lot of research out there that proves that as a fact, which is really cool. Really cool.
And some of the basic research about the success of relationships and the success of marriage comes down to how do people speak to each other? What are the words when they track? What are the words used in an office? And they transcribe all that. The positive words are really the ones that sort of bubble up to the top for success. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Thank you all for being here. I know, Sarah, you've got to jump into a client call real quick. So thank you for your brain, Sarah. Jack's here. We appreciate you, Jack.
Jack, we do.
Jack is one of our mindfulness experts and has a lot of gratitude practice and presenting with us. So we're so glad you were here. We're so glad everybody else was here as well. Oh yeah, Jack, I learned this. Is it going to happen? This started happening in my.
Oh, I don't know if mine going to do it.
Oh, I think I turned it off.
Oh.
But it started happening here. Ready? Jack taught me how to turn this off because all these weird balloons and things.
Oh, wow.
Is it a setting I have to put on?
But you never know when like balloons are going to pop up or stuff. It was in a therapy session and all these things were happening. I was like, what's going on? But thank you all for being here. Our hearts are grateful for your presence.
I love it. I love
Technology.
Until our paths cross again, please be well and keep an eye out for next month. Our theme is connect, and we do in the next couple of weeks have some great Prasada talks, and Alice is doing a wonderful strength program in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for those, and we'll see you again soon. Be well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.